Opinions expressed are those of the program host and guest and not WSTU. WSTU does not endorse any products mentioned. Any reproduction or retransmission of this broadcast is strictly prohibited without written consent of WSTU.
The Treasure Coast longest-running local talk radio show is on the air. The Treasure Coast Forum. Get interested, get educated, get involved, and give us a call with your opinions at 220-9788. And here's your host of the Treasure Coast Forum.
Hello, I'm your host today, John, and I'm back with Mr. Frank this week.
Hey, good to see you once again. And as we do, there was a software glitch, so we should tell our listeners that we would have been on the air about 7 minutes ago or so. But we got that resolved, thankfully, through our mothership up there in Fort Pierce. Got everything straightened out. We thank them for that. And speaking of software glitches, how ironic is that?
Same week.
Mars Ingenuity helicopter had a software glitch. So I've got a little audio here that I'm going to play explaining what's going on.
The Ingenuity team has identified a software solution for the command sequence issue identified on Sol 49 during a planned high-speed spin-up test of the helicopter's rotors. Over the weekend, the team considered and tested multiple potential solutions to this issue, concluding that minor modification and reinstallation of Ingenuity's flight control software is the most robust path forward. This software update will modify the process by which the two flight controllers boot up, allowing the hardware and software to safely transition to the flight state. Modifications to the flight software are being independently reviewed and validated today and tomorrow in testbeds at JPL. While the development of the new software change is straightforward, the process of validating it and completing its uplink to Ingenuity will take some time. A detailed timeline for rescheduling the high-speed spin-up test and first flight is still in process. The process of updating Ingenuity's flight control software will follow established processes for validation with careful and deliberate steps to move the new software through the rover to the base station and then to the helicopter. Intermediate milestones include: diagnose the issue and develop potential solutions. Develop and validate and upload software. Load flight software onto flight controllers. Boot Ingenuity on new flight software. Once we have passed these milestones, we will prepare Ingenuity for its first flight, which will take several sols, or Mars days. Our best estimate of a targeted flight date is fluid right now, but we are working toward achieving these milestones and will set a...
Fluid means they don't have an idea. It's changeable. Changeable, I think, is the best. But anyway, so it's pretty detailed explanation.
Yes.
Which is good. Sometimes you just kind of get the, they had a problem, but they identified a problem during the spin up test, and they weren't comfortable with that. And this before, and this is a high, reward test vehicle. But it has potential for failure, but if it's successful, it's a very high reward situation. So, and they're really learning, while they're doing this process. So, and to do it remotely from Earth to Mars is really amazing, truly amazing. So this will be the first vehicle of its sort ever from Earth to any other body that it works independently in this manner, flight-wise, right? So never before. So pretty cool, and it'll be good to see once they get that resolved. And on to local Earthbound issues. So you and I were talking about this a little bit before airtime. One of the things that the listeners that know me and know my passion for baseball know that I follow baseball. One of the things that I found has been very disappointing. It was the decision that Major League Baseball made to pull the All-Star game out of Atlanta. They did it because they felt they were virtue signaling woke thinking. I'm not too sure what it was, but it was flat out wrong-minded thinking, because it was estimated that the game played in Atlanta, the All-Star game, because it's more than just a game, because it's like almost a whole week's worth of activities, and it's there's a lot of pomp and circumstance. There's a lot of really neat things going on, and so it's $100 million worth of lost revenue. So if Major League Baseball was truly interested in doing something good for the residents of Atlanta, and they would get behind that game and move it back to Atlanta. So
Was there like any reason that they moved it?
they were not happy with the Georgia legislature and the governor that signed a new bill into law, and the bill really enhances voter opportunities. Baseball regrettably took the position that it didn't. It restricted voting rights, and it does not. And so they decided to get political. So this is where you get into a problem when you're a business and you decide to get political. Now, we're going to play a little bit. I'm going to play a little bit of an audio from an interview given just the other day from Senator Mike Lee, Senator Ted Cruz, and another senator, and they were introducing a bill legislation to end Major League Baseball's special immunity from antitrust laws. So, and they give out a very cogent history and explanation as to the carve-out was created nearly 100 years ago for baseball.
Just baseball?
Yeah, just baseball. And this is where the senators have a specific problem. And they go into some very good, very clear, detailed explanation as to why they're having a problem with it. So let's listen to that, and then we'll have some conversation about it.
Thanks for joining us today. We're here today to talk about legislation to remove the antitrust exemption that's long been enjoyed by Major League Baseball. It's important to remember that this exemption was created from whole cloth by the Supreme Court 99 years ago. In an opinion authored by Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes Jr., the Supreme Court said that Major League Baseball simply would not be covered by our antitrust laws. That means that this exemption never saw the light of day in Congress. It was not put in place legislatively. It is a distinctively legislative decision. It's not a ruling that enjoys any support either from the statutory text or anything in the Constitution. We have to remember the reason we have antitrust laws to begin with. We have them because we want to protect competition. Competition is good because we found over time that competition tends to bring down prices and it tends to increase quality. When we allow people to collude, to engage in activity to enhance and perpetuate their own market dominance and defend their own monopolistic position, competition itself suffers, and especially consumers suffer. So if we are going to deviate from the norm established by our antitrust laws, those deviations need to be considered and carefully weighed and balanced, and they need to be ultimately enacted by Congress, not simply put in place by the Supreme Court. Now, yes, this is precedent. It's precedent that has been in place since 1922. But it's not precedent that we're powerless to address. In fact, we have the ability through legislation to undo it, and that's precisely what we're doing. There's no reason that Major League Baseball should be treated any differently than any other professional sports leagues in America. No reason why they ought to have preferential treatment relative to the NFL or the NBA or any other professional athletic organization, nor is there, to my knowledge, any decent argument why baseball is itself different from any of those other sports, or why Major League Baseball should enjoy exemptions not held by other corporations generally, regardless of whether they have anything to do with professional sports. This is good legislation. This is the type of legislative housekeeping that we need to undertake from time to time, especially when we discover that the Supreme Court of the United States has impermissibly stepped into the legislative thicket. That's our job, and our job is ultimately about protecting competition. I'm grateful to be joined by my two friends and colleagues, Senator Cruz from Texas and Senator Hawley from Missouri. We will now hear from them in that order.
Thank you, Mike. This last month has seen a significant and indeed a dramatic change in our country, and not a change for the good. This past month, we have seen the rise of the woke corporation. We have seen the rise of big business enforcing a woke standard. It's always been the case that big business wants to get in bed with big government. It's always been the case that big business seeks handouts, seeks subsidies, seeks special benefits at the expense of the little guy, at the expense of the small business. But in the past month, these woke corporations have decided to become the political enforcer for Democrats in Washington. They've made the decision to get in bed, even at the price of spreading disinformation. What prompted this legislation being introduced was Major League Baseball's decision to pull the All-Star game out of Atlanta, Georgia. It did so based on a pile of lies. It did so based on an assertion that legislation the Georgia legislature took up to protect voter integrity somehow disenfranchised Georgia voters. That is demonstrably false. The legislation Georgia passed expanded early voting in Georgia. It also required identification to vote. I would note, Major League Baseball, if you go to a game right now and pick up your tickets at the will call ticket booth, they'll ask you for identification to vote. So Major League Baseball understands the value of identification, and they apparently don't think they're being bigoted racist when they ask you for a driver's license to pick up your tickets. But they decided to play politics with voting and elections in Georgia. Joe Biden similarly spread partisan lies about the Georgia law, so much so that the Washington Post, hardly a right-wing outlet, the Washington Post predictably leans left, predictably leans Democratic. The Washington Post fact-checked Joe Biden on the Georgia law and gave him 4 Pinocchios, their worst rating for spreading partisan lies about it. And Major League Baseball's decision is indefensible on the merits. They made a decision to pull the All-Star game out of a city that is 51% African American and move it to Denver, a city that is 9% African American. I would note also that the new Georgia law gives Georgia voters 2 more days of early voting than Denver allows. This was not about voting. This was about virtue signaling, and this was about punishment. Major League Baseball made the decision that the more than half of its fans who happen to be Republicans are now disfavored, and that voter fraud is not a concern legislatures should focus on. That decision was harmful. It's going to hurt baseball. But it also underscores that there's no reason Major League Baseball should enjoy special subsidies, corporate welfare that no one else gets. As Mike Lee explained, Major League Baseball has had an exemption from the antitrust laws for nearly 100 years. It was made up by the U.S. Supreme Court. It's been in effect nearly 100 years. The other major sports leagues don't enjoy that exception. The NFL doesn't have that exception. The NBA doesn't have that exception. Somehow those sports leagues manage to do just fine. But baseball gets this very special carve-out of corporate welfare from Washington. They don't have to play by the same rules everybody else does. And we're standing here today to say Major League Baseball should have to play by the same rules. And if they're going to play partisan enforcer, they shouldn't expect to see special goodies from Washington when they are dishonestly acting to favor one party against the other, and doing so in a way that is hurting thousands of small businesses in the city of Atlanta, many of which are owned by African Americans, thousands of African American workers in the city of Atlanta who are hurt by Major League Baseball's woke, dishonest decision that we're standing against. Senator Hall.
All right. So we want to listen to Senator Hawley. He'll just, although makes very good comments, he just reiterates the points that Senator Lee and Senator Cruz made. So you have the quizzical look on your eye. And I thought that everything was very, very clearly explained.
No, not really. Okay, so just
But
explain me
you-
if I'm
okay.
going off the rails, but I really don't think I am.
All right.
Okay, so main point basically, from what I gathered.
Whoops, we got a caller.
Okay, so
We'll
I'll just
come back to
continue
you.
Okay.
Stand by. Okay, caller, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hey, are you live?
Yes,
Yeah.
we're live.
Okay, I got my days right this time. It's Thursday. Isn't
It's
it?
very good. Congratulations. Yes. Yes.
Hey, my friend, I imagine your wedding song was "Fly Me to the Moon."
Yeah.
And fly me to the moon. And then, and then if you got to the moon, you probably hit a baseball instead of a golf ball, like
Right.
one of the astronauts.
I
did.
probably, I'd want to maybe, toss a baseball or, hit it with that would be very cool to set up a tee and just kind of do a little tee ball there on the moon. That would be fun. Yeah. I'd be a player for that.
A lot of people thought I was going to have a career in baseball, but I got into women and partying, and that kind of ended that.
Yeah.
But I love playing baseball. I'm not. Maybe you watch a lot of it. I
used to.
I love to watch it when my kids were playing. You
Mhm,
know, we had a great little league team. I had a batting cage with
Mhm.
a pitching machine. In fact, one time the guy from APEC, the pitching machine company, came to my house to fix my machine after he left the St. Lucie Mets stadium fixing theirs. And
But-
we did pretty well. We had the first team that went undefeated in 23 years in Port St. Lucie with the Yankees.
Cool.
My youngest one was playing, and the kids did all the feeding the balls and picking them up. Next guy up picks up the balls, helps everybody.
Yep.
And the parents, we were all on my back porch where my bar is and all the other stuff, and
Mhm,
the kids took care of everything. But yeah, we went undefeated. First game of the year when we put this whole team together for years. We were
Mhm.
down 13-0 in the first inning, and we won.
Well, so
And we never lost another game after that. And I talked to a guy who had a younger son after a year. My youngest son graduated from
Mhm.
the Little League,
Mhm.
and he said, "What team were you guys on?" I said, "The Yankees." He said, "Oh, Murderers Row."
yeah, right. Yeah, that's their nickname. Hey, listen, stand by because John and I were talking just before your call came on. I played that snippet from Senator Mike Lee and Senator Ted Cruz about the introduction of legislation to end the special immunity for the antitrust laws that has been given to Major League Baseball. And so John had
hang on. Go
yeah,
do your
John.
break.
Well,
You
no,
gotta
it's
make
okay.
some money
You
here.
you can comment too, but I want to hear what John had to say about.
Okay. So,
So-
kind of listening to the video, I feel like it was more like one kind of. It was main point. Like I mostly agree for the fair point. Just like it shouldn't have the exemption, but I feel like the lines were kind of blurred when he was talking about wokeism, kind of.
Right. Well, wokeism was
No,
was referencing. I'll explain what they're
No,
doing.
I understand that,
Right.
but he was kind of blending the lines, blaming it more so on the Democratic Party,
Mhm,
while also talking about look at how these businesses lost out on revenue.
mhm.
And so that's basically you're trying to appeal to that category of woke, kind of. So it's like you're not woke, but you are woke. If that makes sense.
No. So the whole purpose of having baseball go to all these cities, and the cities, get them in. Do you know what the rotation is on that, Bob? If they
well-
vie for them, I mean, there's certain requirements, right? They have to be in, because it's held early.
It seems like if the owners of football or baseball or whatever, if you build a new stadium or put a lot of money into it, unlike the Cleveland Browns, that Bronson guy never did, it seems like if you do build a new stadium, I guess they all get together and say, okay, you get the Super Bowl, or you get the All-Star game, or you get this or that.
Yeah. So they probably, they make it on some sort of a rotation basis, but they just an agreed upon time frame.
Lately, it seems like who invests the most money in their new facility, first, they all help each other out, all the big owners.
Right.
And I got no problem with the big owners making money and all.
Right.
Yeah, and now they're going to move it to the Mile High, which is
in Denver.
Great name for that, Colorado.
Right.
They were the first one to legalize a lot of drugs, and all the homeless people and whatnot, and drug addicts moved to Mile High Stadium or Colorado. And Denver, Colorado used to be a beautiful city. Now it's from what I hear, it's a mess.
Well, so the point is that when Major League Baseball has an event like this All-Star break, the All-Star game, it's a big deal. It's a revenue enhancing for the team, the hosting team, the city that houses that hosting team, and the local community. So, and there's like $100 million now of revenue that would normally be enjoyed by the local citizens of Atlanta, 51% black.
Those events seem to make money more than the Olympics seem to cost.
Well, they do.
Money.
Right. So, and the infrastructure is already there. So it's not like they have to do anything special other than, opening up their gates and, maybe a fresh coat of paint. But there's not a whole lot they need to do in order to host. It's like
you're playing a game. It's not like in the Olympics where you hope it snows in Utah.
Right.
And Romney
credit.
Romney got all kinds of huge credit for that was his big thing. Oh, he made a profitable Olympics, the Winter Olympics in Utah. But
they have the home run derby.
They had hot chocolate and they had snow bunnies. I mean, how could he miss?
Right.
But no, it's sad to see this. I don't watch it much anymore. I love to play it.
Right.
I should have played it.
Right.
But it's sad. It's sad to see what they're doing. And like you said, with the percentages, and they talk about percentage of African Americans in Georgia and there, and I don't know. It is a national pastime. I loved watching my kids play.
I didn't have a problem with our Oliver Wendell Holmes established the carve out. They did it through the Supreme Court. They did it nearly 100 years ago. Most people don't have a problem with it because it's America's favorite pastime, right? It's America's sport, baseball. It's all over the world now. It
was the last one to be touched, it seems like, by all this, the NBA and the NFL. And now it's bleeding all throughout. And it's sad. It's sad to watch all our sports. I used to live for football.
The nice thing about, watching a football game or watching a baseball game or watching a basketball, it's just the sport, the love of the sport. You enjoy the sport. You look at the athletes, you look at the stats and all the things that go with that. And you just, you set aside all your day-to-day troubles, and then you just enjoy
Sunday football. Come on, the Giants. Come on, Lawrence Taylor and Carson and all those guys.
Right.
I lived for Sunday football. I mean, I bought a $5,000 Mitsubishi TV back when I couldn't afford one in California, and my wife said, "We're not buying this." And one day I was driving my dump truck by this Paul's King of Big Screens in somewhere in California where I was hauling a load of asphalt, and I pulled in there, and he said, "Who's your favorite team?" And I said, "The Giants." He threw in a a tape of Lawrence Taylor uncoat. We're going to go out there, we're going to kill everybody. I said, I'll take it. And I came home, and my wife went to a seminar that day, and it was all about women managers, and most of the stuff you worry about really isn't true, and don't worry about it, and this and that. I said, so 99% is not true. So if I bought that TV you said I couldn't have, that Mitsubishi with the oak cabinet with the closing doors so the kids didn't throw a football or something through it, that I'm worried about nothing. She said, you wouldn't have did that. I told you, no, we're not getting that. I said, well, it'll be here Saturday. And it showed up Saturday.
Outstanding. All right, Bob, well, we're going to go to our first break. So thank you for calling in, and thank you for sharing your memories.
Thank you.
Oh, I wanted to say a few more things about Supreme Court. You know,
all right, well, sure.
Why not put 69 people on that thing? Because we're one away from getting you know what. You know, things are going really crazy now. You know,
they are.
Thank God it's not tax day. And what does the Statue of Liberty have to do with tax day? It ought to be the Grim Reaper in my mind.
Okay.
All right, guys.
Thanks, Bob.
See ya.
Hey,
See you next week.
Call in.
Yes, 220-9788, and we'll be right back.
Hello, we're back from our break. You're listening to WSTU 1450.
Yeah, we thank Bob for calling in, and you too could be a star of the show. Just give us a call here at 220-9788, and we can talk about anything about going on Mars. We can talk about what's going on politically. We can talk about what's going on with the royal family. There's some interesting things going on there, and so we're happy to share that conversation with you. So what do you got on your phone that I knew you had some notes that things you wanted to cover when you came in earlier today?
Okay. So I guess we should start off with some of the more political, I guess.
Okay, let's do that.
Okay, so one of the more political ones was Rep. Getz, I think that's how you pronounce his last name. I'm not sure. Getz.
Getz, right?
Yeah.
Getz.
I heard it pronounced like Letzi or something like that. So I'm just okay.
Well, here's the rule of thumb. Names are pronounced whoever owns that name, whatever way they say it, that's how you pronounce it.
Okay.
So you never know.
Yeah.
You never
Okay.
know. But if I see a Getz, I'm going to pronounce it Getz, unless I'm told otherwise.
Anyways, he was involved in a party where there was basically, according to party girls, there are people using drugs and such. I
Mm.
also believe some speculations where he was paying people to have sex with him and stuff. So, interesting.
Not good.
Very, very interesting.
Hmm. And who is this individual, Matt Getz?
Yeah, it was a representative.
Oh, he's a representative. He's a political guy.
I mean,
This is not good. No.
okay. What was it?
Mm. And where does he represent? What state? What city or state does he?
I am not sure. Let me check really quick.
Okay.
Anyways, there's supposedly investigation also investigating him of, I believe it was not human trafficking. It was something
Oof.
along those lines.
Ooh.
So it's not good.
No.
He broke federal sex trafficking and prosecution laws,
Ooh.
and he also had sex with a 17-year-old girl. So not a good situation.
No. Yuck. All right. Well, I'm glad he doesn't represent us here in Florida. Anyway.
Jeez. Okay.
All right.
Other stuff. Okay, so on a more, just something I found cool.
Okay.
So apparently, a Roman statue, I believe its name was Togus, like Togatus. So Togus. It was a
Sure.
statue from the 1st century BC. So that was stolen in an excavation site, and I believe it was Italy. Anyways, that showed up in a antique shop of all places.
An
So.
antique shop. Somebody
then-
just put it
yeah.
under their arm and carried it out of the.
No, it was interesting because there's an entire situation where I believe it was somebody was under a Spanish pseudonym and they gave it to the pawn shop to sell. And then just out of the blue, just two what are they called? 2 police officers were off duty and they just went in the area because it was supposedly like things like that turn up, and then they just walked in and it was like, that looks sketchy. So they picked it up and it was yeah.
It was authentic.
Yeah, that was interesting because it's like,
Wow, and it belongs in a museum.
yeah, it was a Bulgarian antique shop. So I was like, that's
I
pretty
wonder
interesting.
what they were asking for it.
Yeah.
If they had, what normally there's always some provenance for a piece that you want to, unless you're just selling it as just a cool piece of furniture or memorabilia, but not necessarily anything with any provenance,
I actually do wonder what it was, because it was according to the article, it was done by CNN. It was worth around $120,000. So I was
Okay.
like, it was interesting because it's like, how you want to get away selling that's with that much money selling that? It's like,
Well, yeah, they're going to have to sell it for a
Yeah.
lot less than that, right? If it's
Yeah.
in a secondhand store, they're probably going to,
it was
couple
interesting.
$1,000. But here's the downside, right? Let's say you were, fortunate enough to discover it, right? As just an individual person shopper, right? And you go in, you say, oh, this is pretty cool. I want to own it just because you like it, not for any other reason, right? That's why some people shop that way. And, and then suddenly a paper trail, they're looking for this piece and they find you, it leaves your hand and whatever you spent to buy it.
No, I thought it stays in your hand. No.
No.
Was that
Because it's
changed?
stolen. Yeah, it's stolen. It has to go back to the original owner.
I thought
Yeah.
if it traveled overseas and then the person bought it without knowing, it stays with them.
I don't think so.
I think it was that
No.
case, unless that was changed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't think so. I mean, look at, like this whole thing about Spanish galleons, off our East Coast. If you find any treasure,
Oh, okay.
it
So-
goes back to Spain.
Really?
Mm.
Okay.
Yeah, they have first claim on it.
That's interesting. I
So-
didn't know that.
Yeah. So that's interesting stuff. There was a close encounter. The Pentagon confirms authenticity of video showing UFOs over a Navy warship. That could be interesting.
Go ahead and look into it.
All right. Well, let's look into it over break. We're we're jammed up on breaks because we started late, right?
Yeah.
So let's get this last break out of the way. And when we come back, we're going to talk about UFOs. Stick with us. Out of this world stuff.
UAP, advanced transmedium vehicles. There were UFOs that swarmed these carriers, that swarmed these. What you're seeing is some of what I obtained and released is some of that footage. These are 3 images that exclusively George Knapp at Mystery Wire released just prior to everything that I released. They represent 3.
All right. Little X-Files for you. Not the authentic X-Files, but it's close. Yeah. This is probably more recognizable. Let's see if it comes up. Yeah, there you go. That's more like it. There you go. So speaking of X-Files, this is what we've got going on here. The Pentagon has confirmed the authenticity of a newly leaked video and images showing multiple UFO sightings by U.S. Navy personnel as the government prepares to release a highly anticipated first-of-its-kind report of UFOs this summer. An 18-second video shows what is described as a 3 pyramid-shaped UFOs hovering over the warship USS Russell at night, July of 2019, off the San Diego coast. At one point, the pyramid... Let me turn this off.
Like 2-ish years.
Mysterious. Okay. Yeah, at one point, the pyramid-shaped craft reported hovered 700 feet over the tail of the Russell. This is the first public video seen from the July 2019 incident, in which mysterious UFOs described it as unmanned aerial vehicles reportedly harassed at least 3 U.S. warships during military exercises over multiple days. At one point, matching the speed and bearing of one destroyer for 90 minutes while performing brazen maneuvers. Wow.
Yeah, I don't believe it, but
No,
okay.
it's
No.
from the Pentagon. So,
Yeah.
all right.
It takes like a year or two to report.
Well, they thoroughly, before they release stuff, they has to go up. There's a lot of people have to check that box.
I mean, you won't silence an entire fleet. I mean,
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, yeah, sure. I mean, it's military. They just tell
yeah, but how you gonna keep that from not getting out? I mean, like,
well, I mean, people say things all the time, right? No matter what you tell them to do. But so I don't think that was an issue. I think that was just they had, what does UFO stand for?
unidentified flying object.
Right. So it doesn't mean that they're, out of this world either. It just means we don't know what they are. That's all.
Yeah.
They're not identified. They could be from somewhere else. They could be somewhere else from our own government. You don't know.
Yes.
So
The government reporting on the government.
it could be, because sometimes some
Yeah.
agencies don't talk to each other.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
but
You just never know.
I
Yeah.
don't know. I
Yeah.
don't think the government would do that. But
No. Well, anyways, so that's the but if you want more, you can go to the Fox News website and click on the link. And the link is titled Pyramid-Shaped UFO Spotted by Navy. May be the best the world has ever seen, the filmmaker says.
Mhm.
Well, that's pretty cool. So you get and there's a video is included in that news segment. So you can watch that for your own personal enjoyment. And let's see now, what else is going on? We've got 5 minutes to share with our listeners. So we got a caller. Let's.
Okay.
All right. Okay, caller. Whoops, we just lost our caller. Call back. Hello. Hello. Okay. Call back, caller. We just missed you. Oh, there they
Oh,
are.
they're back again.
Yeah. Okay, there you go. Thanks for calling. Hello. 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 Okay. Nobody there.
Hmm.
Hello. All right. Well, try again. Isn't that funny? Okay. Almost had somebody there. All right. All right. So, there's a bunch of controversy right now about the Supreme Court packing. Have you been following that?
Kind of. I believe
Hmm.
what the headlines that I've been hearing that are a little
Hmm.
bit biased is
Mhm.
like more so Democratic trying to get more justices into office.
Correct. So they want to change the Supreme Court from 9 to 13 justices,
Okay.
and so the idea is to have more liberal justices to
Shouldn't be
override.
biased, but
So the idea is to have more liberal justices so that they can, maybe legislate from the bench. I don't know, and change the rules or make the law of the land about to make things maybe more liberal. So that's the thinking, anyways. Why they would want to do it, but I mean, if you can't make a decision with 9 people, I don't know, what are you doing?
yeah.
Nine people in rows whose dedication should be to the dedication should be for the dedication of the law, and to be faithful to the Constitution, and not try to do any more than that. So I don't know.
Hmm.
Don't know. Well, let's see. It'll be interesting to see. San Diego Airport is on lockdown. Police confirmed there was a shooting, so that's not good.
Hmm.
Yeah. Health Department, New York Health Department surveyor exposes New York City nursing home to COVID-19, source reveals. That was just out in the news 53 minutes ago. So, sorry, caller, we missed your call. I don't know what happened when you called in on our first line. I got dial tone. Whoop! When they called back, I got none. So I knew we had a connection, even though it was dial tone. They must have just hung up as I was able to pick up. So, but we can talk to you again next week. So that's for sure. And we thank you for listening. And hopefully we shared some knowledge and some experiences with you, and that you can take with you. And you can always do your own research and give us a call here next week, right here at WSTU and Treasure Coast Forum.
Yes.
We thank the youth and government students that participate, and we thank you for listening. And we'll see you again here next week. Thanks again.